Welcome back to another episode. Today's topic isn't a single word, it's more of a concept. And the concept is laid off, fired, furloughed, whatever has been created to create a separation between you and what you do. So I call this talk beat up and laid off. Why? Because my biggest regret, I don't have big ones, but my biggest regret is beating myself up anytime I lost a job. So, not sure how you feel about your job and what you do, but most folks, when they take a lot of pride in what they do, their job is who they are. It's a part of their character. So, anytime you lose that, you feel like you're losing a part of yourself. And it can be very easy to beat yourself up because you think to yourself, what did I do wrong? Why did this happen to me? Why am I being singled out? And that's not really the question you want to answer. The question you really want to answer is, what's the next step? What's the next path in my destiny? So, regrets are something that, you know what, you think about it, and it kind of can be overwhelming and kind of manifests itself in your mind. But you need to figure out your path forward. You can't look in the past and try to figure out, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? You want to keep looking forward. So, anytime you have to deal with an unfortunate life circumstance of losing a job for whatever the reason, don't worry about that. That happened in the past. Worry about what's coming in front of you. And so, man, I've lost many jobs, many jobs, and it's funny. I can laugh about that now, and I'm in a very good place because I can do that. If you ask me when I lost a job, I might have a slightly different feeling because I had thought about all the things that I would have to do to help fill the gap that losing a job actually creates. Because again, remember, lose your job, lose your identity, right? So if I told you you weren't who you are anymore, you might get kind of upset about that because that's how you define yourself. But you're so much more than a job. You're so much more than that. And so that's the first thing you need to recognize, the first thing you need to understand. So you want to know who you are. You want to know what your strengths are. And every time I had to go through that transition, I kept looking into myself to figure out, what are my strengths? What was I actually meant to do? And every time it was a little reminder of, this isn't where you're supposed to be. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. And the reason it kept happening again and again, same input, same output. If I wasn't meant to be in the corporate world and work for someone else, I was going to keep failing at it. And if I wasn't bright enough to recognize and to see that that wasn't for me, I'd still be doing the same thing and I'd still be unhappy. And what sense does that make, right? So I had to actually create a change. So whatever the reasons, whatever the terms are behind your transition, again, whether it was laid off, being fired, resigning, being furloughed, whatever it is, don't focus on that. Focus on what comes next. You focus on what comes next, that means you're adapting to your changing situation, you're adapting to your environment. And believe it or not, how you respond actually defines your character. So I've seen a couple movies where, someone knows that the end is coming, let's say for a job, and they're like, oh man, I'm going to tell my boss, I'm going to tell them everything that's on my mind. I'm just going to let off the steam. And believe it or not, that's reacting. And that's probably, in my opinion, one of the worst things that you could do. The reason being is, whoever's, let's say, taking the job away, they have a job that's not very easy or fun to do. It's like, oh, I get to fire someone today. I'm sure it's not like love things coming through their head like, oh, I'm going to love this so much. It's probably more fear. It's probably the same fear you have of losing your job. So there's no need to take it out on anyone in particular. Most likely it was a company decision, not an individual. And so it is what it is. But the biggest thing that I find is that the folks that, let's say, you would want to tell something to, it's not even worth it, right? They don't really have any bearing in the decision-making process. They are that's like the mailman. It's like they're delivering you the news. And it's like, are you really going to shoot the messenger? Because the messenger is just doing their job, right? So the way I look at it, you just have to have your head held high when you walk out that door. And you know what? Whatever reservations you have, you know what? You thank the person for the opportunity. You thank them for the good times. And you keep rolling. Because it puts you in a better position because you're not feeling like you're emotionally charged and you're just going to set off and let off on someone. because you got to look at the end result of the consequences. Because the odds of you running into that person again are higher than you think, right? Because the world's so big of a place. There's what, 6 degrees of separation? So odds are you're going to know someone that is going to have the news of what happened on the last job or the job before that, or how you reacted or how you responded. And so you want to keep the best reputation you possibly can. So you want the high ground. So my opinion, stay with the high ground. All right. And then whatever you actually did on your job, how you work, again, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you can have that high step, keep your chin up high when you walk out that door, that's going to serve you on the way out. All right. Now, I can't talk to you about this stuff without sharing my story. So throughout my career, I've been through 6 jobs in 12 years. Now, if you've heard any of my other videos, you found out that how bad I am at working for other people. It took me 12 years to figure out that I stink working for other people. It didn't take me 30 or 40, but it took me 12 years. And I kind of look at that 12 years still, I'm just like, oh, it took me 12 years. But you know what? I figured that out after 12 years. And there's something so satisfying about knowing so that I can actually change the path that my life was actually headed. And for me, that could not have come at a better time. So, in sharing my story, I'll call it my 6-sided saga. All right, so job number 1, right out of college, was working for a big corporate consulting firm. I really appreciated what I did. A lot of the stuff that I did was research and analysis, and I had a pretty good time. I learned a lot. I got a great number of opportunities. And then I had a headhunter reach out to me and say, hey, we got another opportunity for you. It's great. We can pay you this and that. I'm just like, wow, that's a lot more than I'm making. And then I go back to my current employer, and then all of a sudden they're willing to give me a raise on the spot. And that just got me thinking, man, I'm undervalued. So being undervalued right out of college, I'm like, I got to see where this is going to take me. So I resigned from that position. So the big theme for the first job was undervalued. If you're ever undervalued, you need to figure out what it is that you actually are getting of value. Are you getting experience? Are you getting something that you need? Are you ready to jump to that next opportunity? So for me, it was time to jump to that next opportunity. Now, opportunity 2, or the second side of the saga, was a small government contractor that was working with search engine technology. It sounded like really cool. Company was just emerging. They were making a big presence within the community, and I was actually, handpicked for the job. So I looked at that. I was going in, very happy, ready to go. And then the opportunity did not turn out to be exactly what I thought it was. I was, really kind of, talked up as far as what my capabilities and what I could do would be. And the work itself was very different than what I was originally pitched. So in that second side of the saga, I was overpromised. I was told that, hey, you'll be doing this, you'll be doing that, and you'll be in really good shape. And I said, okay. And I went forward, and I was overpromised. So that actually ended up with me being laid off. But you know what? It wasn't something that was in alignment with what my capabilities were. So I was accepting of that. All right. Third side of the saga. Third side of the saga made it to a company, very, very small in nature. Only a total of 5 people in the company, right? And so I was the only engineer, and I was brought on to essentially find work for myself. So first time I was in a role where I was looking for a job while working for someone else. Why? So that when I found another opportunity, they essentially were contracting me out, and they got whatever I made on top of that. So I was like, hey, you know what? It's a job. Let me see what I can figure out. Was able to do some very interesting things there. If you heard any of my other videos, the $5 million mistake, I saved our CEO from making that mistake. And believe it or not, I didn't even get as much as a thank you. If you saved an employer $5 million, you think you might at least get a thank you, but didn't even get that, right? Got nothing. Instead, I was actually asked for my resignation because they thought I was not contributing enough. So in that particular case, I look at that as overlooked. Someone overlooked what my capabilities actually were, and even when I actually demonstrated what they were, there wasn't very much appreciation there. So again, asked for my resignation in that position, resigned that same day, moved on to the next opportunity. Opportunity number 4 of the saga. Worked for a specialized government contractor, doing really, really cool work. Was in there for a good while. Thought I was going to have a lifelong career there. And, man, just difference in management, difference in ideologies and kind of moving forward, what we're actually going to do, as well as what we should do. And I lost the freedom that I had to implement the ideas that were in my head. And that job wasn't fun anymore. It actually became a hostile work environment. So in that environment, I was underestimated. And my management thought that they could control me and what I did. But I did one of the first things ever with that company. I had so much vacation saved up that every time they tried to put me on the chopping block to say that I wasn't able to perform some type of action, I took strategic vacation. If you ever heard of that before, ooh, that saved me. Strategic vacation. They worked on a development sprint. So every 4 weeks, they had a big deliverable due. And I just had to schedule my vacation the week that final deliverable was due, so that everything that they gave me beforehand was not relying on that project getting done, and I still got done what I needed to, so I did not get thrown under the bus. They actually had to change corporate policy for what I did, but you know what? You have an advantage in every situation, so that's what I actually had to do. So I was underestimated in that position. I was able to resign, fortunately, and get out of that environment, and then on to job number 5. So, job number 5, working for a prominent Silicon Valley innovator, had the best of the best. I say I was with that company in its golden years. Just kind of, all stops laid out, the Silicon Valley atmosphere where you work hard, you play hard, and that was great. And for my ideas, I think differently. So I was unpopular, and it was no secret because every meeting we had, it was something that, wow, it was so draining. So draining to come with an idea, to come to share with something, and then everyone seeing that it's either unimportant or untrue and not willing to provide evidence. Just, oh, no, that's not right. You're wrong. No. Like that, that was so draining. And, to love what you do so much and not to have other folks appreciate it was just harsh. So I actually ended up getting laid off from that position. The term I could use is unpopular. I was unpopular. If you're unpopular in an organization, sorry, but you're not going to last very long. When people don't like you, you're not going to last very long. That's just a sad truth. So I was unpopular in that situation. That led to my end at that organization. And then we're on to the last one, number 6. After working to start my own business and that not working out the first couple months, I entered back into the workforce. So as entering back in the workforce, worked for another government contractor, thought working with friends, folks that I've worked with in the past was going to be a big plus. And it was good for a good while. I had the right support system in place at certain times. I was putting in the work, and I was finding some great stuff, or so I thought. And then you get the look at what status quo looks like in any large organization, especially the government. And it just wasn't pretty. No matter what I was producing, what I was putting out there, whatever I was able to prove, nobody wanted to listen. No one was interested. They just wanted to continue with the status quo. And I can remember giving a presentation where I was looking to engage people, have them think, get them just kind of running with me. And I got chastised for it because that's not what is expected. Everything has to be very formal and very lectury, and I couldn't do it. So I got laid off from that position too. And I guess my quality there would be disruptive. So if you bring my 6-sided saga together of why I know I'm not good at working for other people, it's because I've been overvalued, I've been overpromised, I've been overlooked, I've been underestimated, I've been unpopular, and I've been disruptive. And that is who I am. So if I bring all those qualities as an entrepreneur, it puts me ahead of the competition. And that's what I want for you. I want you to figure out, what are your qualities? What is your saga? What are your qualities? What do you see time and time again that should be leading you to your destiny? What direction should you be headed? Because if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. And I knew I had to change that. So I wanted to end this talk of beat up and laid off while essentially making sure that you are not struggling with something that you're going to regret. So if you have a big regret, put it out there, say it out loud, recognize it for what it is, and move on. And remember that you will never be appreciated in the wrong environment. And as one of my mentors, Eric Thomas, would say, you want to be celebrated, not tolerated. So you heard my story. Hopefully it puts you into action. It puts you in a better place of dealing with whatever challenges are in front of you. And I look forward to talking with you again on the next episode. All right, have a good one.